You've probably heard a ton about the hidden biases baked into artificial intelligence, right? But what if the best way to fix it wasn't just about writing better code? What if we could actually put AI on trial? Today, we're going to dig into this powerful idea, treating biased AI not as some mysterious, uncontrollable force, but as a defective product, just like anything else.
Okay, let's jump right into the heart of the problem. The big sales pitch for AI was that it would get rid of our messy human biases, that it would create these perfectly objective and fair systems. But the reality? Well, it's often the complete opposite. Instead of eliminating unfairness, AI can just put it on autopilot, scaling it up in ways we can't even see. To really get our heads around this, let's see how this whole promise and peril thing plays out in the real world. And we'll start with something most of us know all too well, trying to get a job. And this case study just lays it all out perfectly. So, imagine a company uses an AI to sift through thousands of resumes. And here's the catch, it's trained on the company's last 10 years of hiring data from a field that's been mostly male. Well, the AI learns what it's taught. It starts to think that words associated with women or things like taking time off to raise a family are bad signs. And just like that, qualified female candidates get tossed in the digital trash can before a human ever even sees their name. The company didn't mean to discriminate, but the AI learned from their biased past. And the worst part? For the person who applied, the harm is totally invisible. They just never get the call. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's just a bug, right? A technical glitch. Well, not exactly. This problem actually has a name. It's a legal concept that's been around for a long time, and it helps us build a case for what's really going on inside this bias machine. And here is the absolute key to this whole thing. Under this legal idea of disparate impact, it doesn't matter one bit if the AI's creators intended to discriminate. All that matters is whether their creation had a discriminatory effect. The outcome is what's on trial here, not the motive. So what are the gears turning inside this bias machine? Well, first, you feed it data from the past, and surprise, surprise, it learns all of society's old biases. Then it gets clever. It figures out that something that seems harmless, like your zip code, can be a stand-in, a proxy for something sensitive like your race. On top of that, the whole model is usually built to maximize one simple thing, like profit, not a complicated human value like fairness. And the real kicker, its biased results get fed back into the system, creating a vicious cycle that just makes the original problem worse and worse. And these proxies can be unbelievably powerful. Get this. In many parts of the US, just knowing a person's zip code can be over 90% effective at predicting the racial makeup of their neighborhood. An algorithm doesn't need to see race to discriminate. It just needs a proxy, like an address. So, if an AI can cause so much harm, even by accident, how in the world do we hold it accountable? This is where we get this amazing shift in perspective, moving away from just civil rights and into the world of product safety. Just think about that for a second. What if we stop treating biased AI like some spooky, mysterious force and just start calling it what it is, a faulty product? Is a hiring algorithm that discriminates illegally really any different than a car that's sold with faulty brakes? This concept is a total game changer. The magic words here are foreseeable risks and reasonable alternative design. The argument is so simple but so powerful. Algorithmic bias is a foreseeable risk. We all know it can happen. And there are better, safer ways to build these systems. Those are the reasonable alternatives. So if a company knows the risks and fails to use a safer design, well, they've just shipped a defective product, plain and simple. And when you put them side by side like this, the parallel is just undeniable, isn't it? For a faulty airbag, the risk is foreseeable from crash data. For a biased AI, the risk is foreseeable from all the fairness research out there. Yeah, the harm is different, it's economic, not physical, but the logic is identical. A safer alternative was available, and a creator chose not to use it. Okay, so if a biased AI is a defective product, what does a non-defective one look like? What's the gold standard? The answer lies in this really fascinating idea: building our most important values directly into the code itself. This quote just hits the nail on the head. We have to stop obsessing over raw accuracy as the only thing that matters. A model can be 99% accurate overall, which sounds amazing. But if that tiny 1% of error consistently harms one specific group of people, that model isn't just a little off, it's fundamentally unacceptable.
And this brings us to this incredible idea of constitutional AI. It's a design philosophy where you don't just tell the AI to, say, maximize profits. Instead, you give it a constitution, a set of hard and fast rules like thou shalt not discriminate, that it cannot violate. All of a sudden, fairness stops being an afterthought you check for at the end. It becomes a fundamental requirement right from the very beginning.
And look, this isn't just some vague theory. It's a practical engineering roadmap. You start by making your values concrete, translating a big idea like fairness into something you can actually measure. You get your data in order, rooting out all that historical bias. Then you literally build those fairness constraints into the algorithm's training process. And, this is so important, you monitor it constantly after it's out in the world, because society is always changing and the AI has to evolve too.
So, how do we make this the new industry standard? Well, it's not going to happen on its own, that's for sure. It requires a real coordinated effort from everyone involved in building and overseeing this technology.
The path forward really has 3 clear lanes. First, regulators need to set the rules of the road, making it crystal clear that our civil rights laws still apply, even to an algorithm. Second, the developers themselves have to adopt these better design philosophies and start treating fairness as a core feature, not a bug. And finally, there's civil society. That's all of us. We have to be the watchdogs, monitoring for harm and demanding transparency and accountability when things go wrong. So really the key takeaway is this. An accountable AI isn't some kind of black magic. It's a product, one that can be carefully designed, rigorously tested, independently audited, and ultimately held to account when it fails. This isn't about stifling innovation, it's about demanding that this powerful new class of products meets the same safety standards we expect from anything else that shapes our lives. And that leads us to our final and maybe most provocative question. Thinking about AI as a product makes this huge problem of bias feel tangible, maybe even solvable. But it also forces us to answer the hardest question of all. When this product fails, when it denies someone a job, a loan, or home, who is responsible? Where does the buck stop? That's the conversation we need to be having right now.